Well, the election of 2014 is history. Massachusetts has a new governor, and 4 major ballot questions have been settled. In the aftermath, we wondered, for you as a voter, how do you feel about the results?
Never give up.
Our next governor, Charlie Baker.
I'm sure Charlie Baker will do a great job, but I did vote for Martha Coakley.
I was just surprised about how close it actually was.
To be honest, what I was most disappointed about was the Republicans winning the Senate.
Nationally.
We need a balance. I think they should be both parties, not all one party.
And it doesn't make you feel as if anything's going to get done.
I don't agree with everything that was voted, but, you know, I think it was, it's the way it's supposed to happen.
So your people won.
Yes.
Did your ballot questions win?
Yeah, I think they all did, which was a surprise.
I was a little disappointed about the bottle bill not passing.
Casino was another disappointment.
It worked great, so I'm pretty happy, and that's sort of why we have the system.
We have reached the roundtable portion of our discussion this morning, and of course political analysts like candidates are still very tired and cross-eyed after the long evening. So let me introduce the deservedly weary but brilliant Democrat analyst Marianne Marsh and the equally deservingly bleary and brilliant Republican analyst Rob Gray. And we welcome you back to OTR. Great to have you back in the chair.
Good to be back.
Yeah, look how fit and trim he looks here. He's ready to go.
And we'll explain why he's back here a little bit later. So, Governor-elect Baker, the transition begins at this particular point in time. Will talented people actually take lower salaries to work in the administration? But more importantly, Rob, you're a part of the same Weld administration where Charlie Baker cut his political teeth. What are you expecting? What are you seeing?
I think he'll bring a lot of talented people in. Both from the public and the private sector, and both from the Republican and the Democratic parties. I think Charlie's a consensus builder. He's a manager. He wants to bring the best people to the job. And I do think that people will come inside the administration even if they're making less money, because when you have a new governor with a new agenda, and I think Charlie's laid out a positive forward-looking agenda, people want to get on board with that. They want to be part of something new and change. And it's been 8 years since we had a Republican governor, so I think there are some people out there who want in.
So, Marianne, could we expect that most of the people that come in are people that are young, that are hungry, that want to be part of something, and the people who have already made, the older, wiser people that have already made their fortunes outside, who can now afford to work for state government?
I think it will be both, and I think all of us know people who've worked for Charlie Baker in the private sector, in the public sector, and elsewhere, Democrat and Republican, who loved working with him, okay? So I think a lot of them, if they're offered the opportunity to do it, would do it for a year or two. And I wouldn't be surprised to see a really broad range of people brought in just based on all the people he knows and where he's
But
worked.
will they mostly come from both of these groups primarily, and not a lot of people from the middle?
We'll see. If Charlie Baker is smart, that will be true.
I want to go back to election night, or actually it was after midnight, so it would have been Wednesday morning, and it was pretty tight until the end. Charlie Baker came out victorious without declaring victory. Take a snippet from his speech the other night.
She put her heart and her soul and every ounce of energy that she had into that race. And as I watched those numbers come in, I kept thinking, this is going to end badly for one of us.
And let me just say, and this is just me, my favorite part of that speech was when someone in the crowd booed when he mentioned the name Martha Coakley. He said, "Stop it!" He jumped right there, right now. I thought that was a great correction. He was very magnanimous that night, but Marianne, should Coakley have stayed, and should she have spoken to her people like he spoke to his people?
Well, first and foremost, this was the first decision Charlie Baker made as governor, and he made a great decision. He handled it very, very well. And no, Martha Coakley was right to wait. Democrats in particular believe every single vote should be counted. A vote in Becket is just as important as a vote in Boston. So she sent Steve Kerrigan out there, and I think they both handled it exactly right, and good for both of them. And I think Charlie Baker set the tone, perhaps, for his administration that evening.
Marianne has put Becket on the map for us between election night and now. Rob, your read on what should have happened, the optics of that
I
night.
think Martha Coakley handled it the wrong way. But Charlie Baker let her off the hook, so it was okay. I think she put her reputation and legacy at risk by not conceding that night. He had a 25,000 vote lead. The towns that were still out, that were bound to come in, she was never going to haven't moved in her direction at all. In fact, his margin increased to 40,000 votes. I mean, those of us who are looking at the towns left to come in knew that the margin was only going to get bigger for Charlie Baker. I think she should have put an end to it, but she got away with it because Charlie let her off the hook.
Okay, let's move north. Unlike many Democrats, incumbent Jeanne Shaheen pulled it off. In the end, why did New Hampshire stay blue, Rob?
Well, in part because it's moved towards being a blue state significantly over the past 20 years. I think they've only voted for one Republican president in 2 decades. So that's part of it. But I think the major part of it was that Scott Brown was seen as being a carpetbagger and that he didn't deserve to be voted for because of that by at least, 3 to 5% of Republicans and independents who had a problem with him coming up from Massachusetts and running. I think those who supported his Republican primary opponents, many of them didn't vote for Scott Brown.
So here's my next question, Marianne. Will we see Scott Brown again?
Well, there's a whole cottage industry in the Republican Party that takes failed Republican candidates and they go out and give speeches and as if they have a political future and make money off it. Rick Santorum, Herman Cain, the list goes on.
Can he run again?
Are you saying he's in that?
Here, as everyone who watched WCVB on election night, and there were many, said, Patrick Griffith said, Scott Brown's got a great future. He's going to be back. He has the chance to run again. Now, wait a minute. He became the first person in American history to lose 2 Senate races in 2 different states to 2 women. Yet he's got a future. Martha Coakley lost 2 races and came much closer to winning the other night than Scott Brown did to Jeanne Shaheen, yet she has no future. And that is hypocrisy on its face.
Rob, do you have any read to balance that level of
I think he has a political future. It's just how do you define what that is? I mean, I think he'll be a player and a fundraiser within the National Republican Party, but I think now he's stuck in New Hampshire, whether he wants to be or not, right? So does a race open up there that he could run for, in a small state with limited opportunity? Why not? I mean, in 4 to 6 years,
Governor term
it could
is 2
happen.
years, right.
I mean, listen, the farm team for Republicans in New Hampshire is not that great, so why couldn't he jump in? It happened this time.
We continue on the record. Stay with us.